Welcome to That's a Wrap, where we will be reviewing the brand new Marvel's movie, Justice League. I'm just kidding. Eternals, Marvel's Justice League. But before I get into my review of this movie, please consider this your spoiler warning because I will be talking spoiler-ish. Now, I just came back from the movie theater and I'm going to say, though I visually enjoyed the movie, it was okay written. I thought it was too long and way too out of focus. I know some of the reports or when they asked the people involved in this movie, they were like, this is like an Endgame or Infinity War type of movie, but that wasn't a good thing. Exactly what my fear was is what ended up happening in Infinity War, or even in Captain America: The Civil War, and in Endgame. We had a ton of characters in those movies, but we were already invested in their storylines. We were invested in Gamora, in Star-Lord, in Thor, in Iron Man. And, I could just keep going on and on and on. For being a brand new group being introduced to non-comic book fans, and I'm going to be honest, and I said this in my trailer when I did the trailer review for this movie, I wasn't super familiar with these guys, so I wasn't aware of all of their powers, what they were doing, their backstories. And when you're watching this movie, they do a really good job in trying to introduce us, but it's in like 5-minute integrals, and then they go into like a flashback. So we get introduced to them where they're presently at, then we go back, in history and kind of catch up with how they got here, and then we bump back into present time. And it keeps on doing that for a good, I'm gonna say 25 minutes of this movie we're spending getting to know them, which, again, I respect the movie that is doing that, but it just does it too quick, and you still don't engage. Now, there was a lot of characters in there that I loved, and I'm not the only one that thinks that this was basically the Justice League, Marvel's Justice League, because that's what it felt. You had a wannabe Superman character, you had a wannabe Wonder Woman character, and you had a wannabe Flash character. Though I will say that Marvel did such a great job with their speedster. I think the name is Makari, but I wish they would do the Flash like that. That was so dope in how they present a very comic booky, very animated movie, but they executed it really, really perfect. I mean, they executed a lot of the special effects really, really good, except for whatever reason with the spaceship at the end. When it was taking off, it looked comic booky. Now, not even comic booky. It just didn't look real. It looked like an unfinished CGI. But I don't know. Like I said, again, it was visually stunning. Just it lacked it just lacked a lot. I was underwhelmed when it ended. I was more like, okay. And then the last two end credits, again, while in the theater that I was, more than half of them left. No one cared about the end credits. And then when the end credit came up, I know a bunch of people are popping up. Oh, I knew who that was. We know the actor that's playing and I don't want to spoil too much, but everybody knew the actor that came up, but nobody knew. I mean, what I meant to say is that everyone's coming out now saying, oh yeah, I know that character from the comic book and what his story was. I'm almost certain nobody did. I haven't heard no one talk about that the character from the comic book, and all of a sudden it comes up in the end credit like, oh my god, that was amazing. No, it wasn't. It was so underwhelming. Like I said, in the theater, more people were scratching like, who is that? Again, we knew the actor that's playing that character, but everybody was, who is that? Then the second credit scene was like, it was so short, and you had people some people are saying it's Blade, some people saying it's some other people, some people were saying that it was Nick Fury. I was like, oh, well, that was really disappointing as far as that thing. So I thought the movie flowed good. Like I said, I enjoyed the cinematography, the way it was shot, and that's how I think this movie was intended, in a very just grandiose scale. Like the where they shot these shots were beautifully done. Some of the like the celestial in his grand scale looked great. That scene at the end when he pops up in like the world and everybody could see him, like I like that they did it true to what it would like if some entity like that showed up in our atmosphere and that was that gigantic, like everyone around the world would see it. My question is, where at that point, where the hell is Thor? I get he's with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know how far behind the Thanos snap and all this stuff from Endgame this is, but you would figure that this would be going on everywhere, and with the technology inside Star-Lord's ship, that the shit will be just going bonkers because it would be happening everywhere. And I get it, it only happens in the last, like, it's very instantaneously, but where were all the other Avengers and heroes in this thing is beyond me. Especially Doctor Strange. He keeps on for the one person that could teleport wherever he wants him. Plus, I think in one of the ones that were in London, don't they have a sanctum in London? But anyway, so again, it was an okay movie. The characters were okay written. Like I said, I was just to the whole movie, was like, wow, this really reminds me of Superman. And Athena reminds me really much of Wonder Woman, and that's really what And then the only part I was like, I in my mind, and a couple of people said it when Jon Snow and Icarus, or Black Knight and Icarus, if you want to call them by the comic book, people were going, oh, it's the Kings of the North, the Kings of the North, and stuff like that. So that was kind of interesting. I didn't laugh at all. I mean, don't get me, I shouldn't say I didn't laugh at all. I did laugh when King Joe, Camille's character, was on there. He was the only bright spot in this movie as far as comedic wise, even though I appreciate that they didn't overdo it too much. But it was just too many characters to try to focus in. And I get they are a group, but it was just too much focus all over the place and not focused enough into one. And then the villain, which ended up being Icarus, you saw that like halfway through the movie. You're like, he's gonna double cross something. You didn't know where, but you just knew that some double cross was in there. And then why was Salma Hayek's character Ajax in this? Was just so for what, name recognition? Because she really didn't do much in this movie. So there was some that got too much, some that didn't get enough. And I was like, well, what was the point? What was the point in having them all in this? And if you're going to tell me that this wasn't Justice League, there's a comic book where Superman flies into the sun and becomes Superman Prime. That's literally what I thought when Icarus was going into the sun. And I get it, there's the myth, Icarus flying in too close to the sun, blah, 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 blah. That shit was just Superman reimagined. And we know that the director is a huge DC fan. And she should have just directed the DC movie if she really wanted to bring this to life, for that vision, because it felt very DC in a Marvel movie. And the ending was lackluster. When the ending happened, I was like, that's it? Like the fight, like she just places it and makes him go to sleep, like Mantis did to Ego. Like I was like, that's it. That's literally the where we got in this story. And then like, oh, I'm gonna go through your memories and judge them accordingly from the Celestial, and I'll come back or I'll let them live depending on your memories. I was like, oh my god. But we're gonna get an Eternals too, because it said at the end the Eternals will return. So we'll see if they make it up. We'll see if they go with the same director or they choose a different director to go about it. Maybe they could convince the the brothers down there, the Russo brothers, to come down and direct um, the second one. Maybe they'll do these characters a little bit more justice. Yeah, so it was all over the place for me. And then I don't get the controversy. I get, oh, there was a gay kiss or two men kissing from Fastos and his husband. It was literally like 2 minutes. Not even that. Like 2 seconds. A real quick kiss when he leaves, and that's it. They don't really like focus too much on that stuff. So I don't get the whole controversy over it. Even though I will say this though, in the movie theater when that happened, I saw a bunch of parents there with their kids kind of go do that or like slam their hands to their knees and stuff like that. And hey, I'm not here to talk politics or what you believe and what you don't believe. I'm assuming they're in the camp where they don't want to express that or have their kids look at that kind of stuff. But honestly, the kids didn't even flinch. They're already used to it. It's all over social media. It's something that, you hear politicians, you hear actors, you hear your neighbors, their classmates, people in school. It's all over the place. At least in this nation, it's like, hey, you love who you love, not like in other countries and whatnot. And I know that because of this little scene or the implications of that relationship between Fastos and his husband, this movie is now getting banned in several countries, which sucks. But at the end of the day, it's still a flawed movie. The soundtrack was forgettable, even though it tried to be grand. It wasn't iconic. Like when you hear Cap's music, or you hear Iron Man's rock music, or when you hear the Guardians of the Galaxy, like there's just certain songs that you automatically associate with those characters, and this movie did not do that effectively. But all in all, still, I enjoyed it. I would consider this a mid to bottom tier of Marvel movies, and for me, this movie was a B minus. Way too unfocused, lackluster soundtrack. The acting was great, the visuals were great, but it seems like they were just trying to focus more on those two things, on the visual aspect of this, and in telling a story that was too convoluted and confusing. But the actors did the best job they could in acting their asses off, and they should be commended for doing exactly that, because they did a fabulous job in acting their roles. But anyways, those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments, and like always, that's a wrap.